The course syllabus is going to provide detailed information on how this course will work. To locate the syllabus, you're going to go to Modules, Welcome Start Here, and click on Biology 140 Syllabus. So what I have here is what I call the generic syllabus. This is for a 16-week course. So I would have the semester, the dates, the section, etc. filled in for the appropriate semester. So there's a few things to note no matter when you're taking the course. The final exam is in person, so you're going to have to come to campus to take the final exam. And the lab portion of the course is 25% of your course grade, and it is also going to be in person for the duration of the semester. So I'm not going to read every single word in the syllabus, but I 100% recommend that you read every single word. I'm going to hit the highlights. So we have a little welcome about what this course is about, and I've got the Canvas link because everything in this course is delivered through Canvas. And as we scroll down, we've got information about me. So I'm Professor Good, and my email address, which is the best way to get a hold of me. You can expect me to respond within 24 hours of you sending your email. If it's a holiday or a weekend, that would be 48 hours. And then one of the most important things on this is the email etiquette. And you're like, what does that exactly mean? So you have to use your ICC email address. So that is an ICC policy. If you were to email me from a Gmail or a Hotmail, what I would do is I would respond and say, thank you for contacting me. Please send this using your ICC email address. In your email, you should include as much information as possible for me to answer your question. That would include your name, first and last, the name of the course. I teach a lot of courses, so I need to know which course you're talking about. And then this is an academic professional setting, so we're going to use proper grammar, punctuation, which includes things like sentences, capitalization, periods between the words, not abbreviations. This is not texting, so you need to give me a professional email with your question or questions. The more information that you can provide, the sooner I can answer your questions. So for example, if you're saying, I would like information about the Smart Book for Chapter 1, then what is your question? So like how to complete it, how do I know if I complete it? If you just say, hey, I'm in your biology class and I have a question about the first assignment. I don't know your name. Hey is not a way to address me. I don't know which assignment. I don't know which class. So I don't know which modality. So this could be in person or it could be an online section. So if you say, hi, my name is blank. I'm in your Biology 140 online course, and I have a question about if my Chapter 1 Smart Book was submitted, I can answer that easily. Phone number is there. I do check that, but I'm not on campus every day of the week, so you're better off to email me. Campus location as far as my office, if you'd like to visit me during my office hours, is 321E on the East Peoria campus. I will have on your actual syllabus the office hours filled in here, so please check that. It's also on the Canvas site. Course description is what it says. It's going to describe what we're going to learn this semester and the prerequisite. So basically what you need to have done to get into this course. Course materials are going to be things that you're going to need to obtain. So the textbook is automatically included in your Canvas site. We call this inclusive access, or IA. So when you go into Canvas, you will see your textbook automatically. So you have access to your assignments on day one, as soon as that Canvas site opens. So this also includes the eText, access to Connect. So Connect is the McGraw-Hill publishing site where the smart books are located, where the quizzes are located, where the practice extra credit homework located. So you have access to that automatically with the eTextbook. Included with that is something called Proctorio, which is going to be the proctoring site for your quizzes and exams if you're taking this online. So just to clarify, this is not something you need to go to the ICC bookstore and purchase. It's automatically included with Canvas. If for whatever reason you wanted to get the e-text with Proctorio and Connect somewhere besides ICC, then you would need to opt out. Now I'm going to warn you, if you opt out, you're going to pay more money for all three of those components. So you often go, well, how am I getting charged? You will be charged in your ICC account for the bundle of Connect, the ebook, and Proctorio. What you do need to go to the bookstore and purchase is basically your Nearpod note packet. If you don't want to purchase from the bookstore, you can also print that from the Canvas site. This is the outline of the notes for the course. It also includes the study guide. So I highly recommend that you get the Nearpod note packet. Also from the bookstore, you're going to purchase your lab materials. So the lab manual is by somebody called Ammerman, and safety glasses for the lab portion of the course, and your lab objective packet. If you would like a loose leaf version of the textbook, you can purchase that either from the ICC bookstore or directly from Connect. That is not required. That's wholly up to you if you would like the loose leaf version. You will need a computer, even if you're taking this course in person, because we're going to take our quizzes online. If you don't have a computer with a webcam and internet, then you can take these in the testing center. Just let me know and we can kind of figure that out. So tablets, phones, Chromebooks, gaming systems are not sufficient if you're taking this course fully online, meaning the lecture portion. So presentations of material. So the lecture is going to be delivered via Nearpod, and I will discuss that in a separate video. And basically Nearpod is free, and you click on it, you listen to my voice. It's as if you're sitting in the classroom with me, and you're gonna complete all the activities that are embedded within the Nearpod to gain your points. You're gonna also use your Nearpod notes and fill them out from the Nearpod. Then your assignments are gonna be on Connect. So you're gonna go to Canvas, click on those smart books and quizzes, and complete those assignments. All right, so this is basically how to learn the material. Watch the Nearpods, listen to my narrations. I made all of them. I made the slides, I made the activities, I narrated them. So that is what I'm going to use for your tests and quizzes. Fill in that note packet. I also made the note packet. So that is your best source for your study material. As far as assessment, exam questions, quiz questions, the comprehensive final questions, those will all be used to assess what you learned during the semester. All of the materials are going to be located on Canvas. There's the link to Canvas. And each Canvas is going to have a module or a lesson. A module and a lesson are the same thing. They'll have an introductory page, some resources such as your Nearpod notes, study guides, Kahoots. I've already covered that in a previous video. Then the assignments, so Nearpod, SmartBook, quizzes. If you're taking this online, the exams are online except for the final. If you're taking it in person, then the exams are in person and the Nearpods are in person with the exception of a few. I also have announcements that will be posted every week on Canvas. And if anything changes during the course of the semester, those will also be sent via Canvas. All right, course learning outcomes are basically what I promise that you're going to learn throughout the semester. So these are our course learning outcomes. Then we get to grades, which is really the part you care about. So depending on whether you're in person or online, so this could be taught at several different modalities, there's about 800 to 1,000 points, again, whether you're in person or online. So those points are going to come from Nearpod, SmartBook, lesson quizzes, exams, the final exam, and all of those points will be available the entire semester on the Canvas grades. So make sure you check that frequently. If it's something that I have to grade manually, like the Nearpods, then I will post a little comment. So if you did a great job, I'll say great job. Or if you didn't complete the Nearpod all the way, you didn't get to 100% participation, then I will say like 80% completed and here's your points. If you had some things incorrect, then I will often post the correct answers. Sometimes if you have so many things incorrect, I'll just direct you back to your notes. Like, this figure was labeled incorrectly, please see your notes. So lecture is 75% of your course grade and lab is 25%. So if I am not your lab instructor, which is likely, you will likely have a different lab and lecture instructor, which means you'll have 2 Canvas sites, one for lecture, one for lab. So make sure you check both of those often. So if I am not your lab instructor, then I don't get those lab grades until midterm and the end of the semester. So you always need to check with your lab instructor about your lab grade. At the very end of the semester, I will have that lab grade and I will combine it with the lecture grade. All right, examples of how to calculate your grade. The grading scale is listed there. And then grading policy. So late work is not accepted other than what we have are called tickets. So you do have what are called tickets to help you if you forgot something. However, once those tickets have been used, you have no other options. Those scores are going to be zeros. After all grades are final, no additional points. So in other words, at the end of the semester, that last day of classes, not final, I will say, this is your grade. So I won't accept extra credit, those kinds of things after the last day of classes. I do round up at 0.5 or higher. If you're at a 0.4, it's the lower of the 2 letter grades, which is still, depending on what that score is, a decent grade. Okay, so here's probably one of the most important pages in the entire syllabus. It is a list of all of the assignments, when they're due, and a little brief description. So I'm going to kind of make this easy. Nearpods and SmartBooks are both due on Tuesdays, with the exception of the first one only. The first one only is due on a Wednesday. All the other Nearpods and SmartBooks are due on Tuesdays. Everything's due at 11:59 p.m. After that, it won't let you in. So Nearpods are the best source for lecture material. So that's what you're going to study. Again, it's as if you're sitting in the classroom with me. They are 5 points. They're untimed. You have unlimited attempts before the due date. So you can go back in there as many times as you want and complete them. And I actually recommend that you use those for review before a quiz or a test. They are graded for accuracy and completion. You have to get 100% participation and get them correct to get all of your points, to get your 5 points. Each incorrect answer is minus 0.1, but Nearpod allows you to go back and change multiple choice questions. So if you get a multiple choice incorrect, rewind it, put in the right answer, and then you won't get those wrong. Manual grading of these is required on my part, so I'll have those graded within 1 week of when you submitted them, and you are allowed 1 ticket, which we'll get to a little later, for 1 Nearpod. SmartBooks are going to be what we call an adaptive assignment. It's testing you to see what you know and what you don't know. So after you've done your SmartBooks, which are due on Tuesdays, there are 3 points, untimed, unlimited attempts before the due date. After they're done, you can go and do what's called a recharge. Just click on it again, and it will basically allow you to go in and practice those things that you were struggling with in the SmartBook. They're automatically graded. There's sometimes a little bit of a lag, sometimes a half hour to an hour, depending on your computer and the system. So if you don't see it automatically, you could refresh your computer or go back in an hour later and see if the grade is there. But those are auto-graded. You may use 1 ticket for 1 SmartBook for the entire semester. Quizzes are due on Fridays. They're going to cover the chapter or chapters that we have covered in the Nearpod and the SmartBook. They do use Proctorio, which we'll talk about a little later. And the only resource you're allowed is your brain. You have 10 minutes. There's 10 questions. I'm sorry, you have 12 minutes, sorry. 10 questions, 10 points, and 1 attempt. So you can't start and stop. So once you start, you got to finish it, and there's no retake. So if you're like, oh, I just got a 3 out of 10, then I do drop the 1 lowest. That will probably be the lowest one that I drop. But you don't get to go in and do it again. These are also automatically graded. I do recommend that you see what you missed so that you don't miss it again on a on an exam. You can see 1 hour after the due date. So if it's due on a Friday, it's 1 hour after the 11:59 p.m. You can go back in and it will show you what you missed. You may use one ticket for one quiz for the entire semester. And again, I dropped the one lowest. Exams are going to be due on Mondays at 11:59. They are also going to use Proctorio. You have one attempt, no starting and stopping. So once you start, you got to complete it. They're 100 points, 70 questions on average, 80 minutes. And again, you have one attempt. You cannot retake it if you didn't do well. Automatically graded, and also those scores and what you missed is 1 hour after the due date. You have one ticket for one exam the entire semester. The exams are going to open on a Friday before they're due on that following Monday. The Nearpods, the Smart Books are open like a week to 10 days before their due date. And the quizzes are open 1 week before their due date. So you can always start early. You don't have to wait till the day of. In fact, I recommend the sooner the better. Comprehensive final is no tickets, so you have to take it in person. You can either do that by signing up, which we'll talk about later, for a sign-up time, or taking it in the testing center. But the final exam is in person. That's the only way to take it. It is not online. It is a proctored exam over the entire semester, so all of the units, 100 points, 100 questions, timed, and you have one attempt. And I will post a link in Canvas, usually about week 10 of the semester, for you to sign up for when you're going to take your exam. There will be several days, several times, usually morning, afternoon, and evening, and both campuses for you to choose from. All exams are counted. I do not drop any low exams. So one quiz is the one that's dropped. All the other grades are going to count. I recommend that you do the assignments in this order. So view the Nearpod, fill in the corresponding Nearpod notes, listen to each slide, complete the activities, do the Smart Book, and then the quiz. Attendance is mandatory, so you need to attend class by doing the online assignments. So here's a list of dates. So each semester it's going to change a little bit, but a never attender is someone that's never done anything, which if you're listening to this, you've done something. So I'm going to skip to the next one. A non-attender is a student who was participating and they kind of fell off the face of the earth. So you haven't logged into Canvas for a week, you haven't completed assignments for a week, and you haven't contacted me. So I'm all about communication. So if you are having issues in your life, which we all have issues occasionally, then communicate with me and we will try to get you back on track. If you need to drop the course, if you want to get a refund, you need to do that before September the 2nd, and you'll get a full refund for this particular semester. So each semester that's going to change, so make sure you look at your actual syllabus. So this is for fall, spring it will be a little different, summer it will be a little different. So please check your individual syllabus. And then if you decide to stay in after the refund date, you could still drop, but you just wouldn't get your money back. If you have extenuating circumstances, we can discuss what's called an incomplete. We'll do that on an as-need basis. And since this course is online anytime, so in other words, it's online, if there is some kind of weather or college closure that I don't foresee, we will continue because we're online. So just, again, check Canvas if there is any kind of update that needs to happen that we don't know about ahead of time. And academic integrity is basically saying you need to be honest and not cheat. So I am going to read a little bit of this to you. It says, as a student in this course, you're expected to maintain high degrees of professionalism, that includes email, commitment to active learning and participation in this class, and integrity in your behavior in and out of the classroom. This means that you will conduct yourself as though you were serious about your education and learning to work with others in professional environments, both on-site and online. So in other words, you have said, I'm committed to this course and doing my own work. So here's a list of what would be considered dishonest: plagiarism, giving answers, receiving answers, submitting somebody else's work, disabling your camera during a proctored assignment, use of things that you're not allowed during a proctored assignment. So the only thing you can use during tests and quizzes is your brain. No cell phones, no notes, no study guides. The only thing is your brain. I need to see your face the entire time during those tests and quizzes, and no things like headphones, no looking around. So I need to see your full face and your eyes on the front of the screen. If there was any kind of suspicion, then I would contact you. No AI is allowed in this course. So here we get to that proctorio. So how would I even know if you're cheating on a test or quiz? Software built into the course is called Proctorio. It is already included in the charge for Connect and the eText. And so what it's going to do is you're going to have a camera that has to be working with audio, and it'll do a check at the beginning to make sure that everything is working, have those little pre-checks. You will have to download an extension. If you can't do that on your personal computer, you would need to go to the testing center to take these assignments. So you can't disable it. You have to use Proctorio for all of your tests and quizzes. So if during a test or quiz, which I do review them, the recordings, but it's only me, I'm the only one that has access to those recordings, then if I see something like you're looking around, you have your phone on, you're talking to someone, you've got a study guide out, your whole face is not showing, then I would email you with what I saw. You would get a 0 for that assignment, and then I would fill out what's called a student of concern form, which basically goes to the dean of students that says, I think the student cheated. And we would kind of discuss back and forth, either in person or via email, what the circumstances were. If after we've discussed that, you continue to have what I consider would be cheating, and if things look weird, then I would have, that would be any repeated offense. I would send you another email. You would probably get an F in the course, and I would fill out a student of concern form again, and you would probably have a meeting with the dean of students. So just make sure that you're not doing anything that looks like suspicious that you're cheating. Course policies and expectations. Basically, I've gone over all of these so far. So make sure you keep track of the due dates. Make sure that you are keeping track of any missed assignments. We're going to talk about tickets here in a second. So make sure that you are on top of what has been turned in. The Canvas grades is very good for keeping track of what's due and when, meaning it'll show you if you have a score for something. So I understand that life happens. We're human. We have things that come up. So you have, at the beginning of the semester, tickets. So you have one ticket for each type of assignment. So one Nearpod, one SmartBook, one quiz, one unit exam, but not the final exam. So basically you have 4 tickets total, but one for each type of exam. And what that ticket's going to allow you to do is have a 48-hour extension from the original due date. So if you forgot a Nearpod or a SmartBook, which are due on Tuesdays, email me and say, I would like to use a ticket for my Chapter 2 Nearpod. And then I will record that, and you can go in and do that Nearpod. So if it was due on a Tuesday, it's now going to be due on a Thursday. If you want to redeem a ticket for a lesson quiz, those are due on Fridays, then you would have until Sunday to take that lesson quiz. If after that 48-hour window is up and you either didn't use the ticket that you asked for, or it's, you wanted that Nearpod that was due on a Tuesday and you're asking for a ticket on a Friday, the time has lapsed. So you've only got that 48-hour window. So make sure you email me and you're on top of your assignments as much as possible. So now I have a list of tips for success for how to be successful in this course. Get all of your materials from the ICC bookstore that you need. Make sure you have reliable computer, internet, have a backup plan. So a neighbor, a friend, the library, somewhere that if your computer dies or your internet craps out, that you have a backup plan. log in and check your email often. So I can only correspond with you via your ICC email. And those announcements and anything that changes in the course, which is very rare, will all be sent, if you have it set up that way, to your email. Be familiar with the Connect and Canvas sites. As I said, check your email frequently. Create a calendar for those due dates. The last few pages of this syllabus are long, which I'll show you. And I actually recommend you just print out those few pages. That's going to tell you all the due dates. I also have a place I can show you this in Canvas. Submit things early. I know that's crazy, but everything's going to be open at least a week, if not more, ahead of time. So except for the exams. So the exams open on a Friday for due dates on Monday. So you don't have to wait till the day of. That way, if you do have something come up, you're not stressed. If something does come up with your life, communicate with me as soon as possible so I can get you back on track. Complete those Nearpods, complete the study guides, use the practice Kahoots, whatever works best for you. Create group, like study groups with classmates. You can probably find somebody in your lab that you're taking the same course, even if you have a different lecture instructors. But make sure that you are using as many resources as possible. We are also going to have Academic Support Center, which I'll get to in a minute. It's free, so if you need one-on-one tutoring, that's an option, which we'll get to. The same quiz pools are going to be used for the unit exams. So always go back and look at what you missed on those lesson quizzes, because it's possible you could see that same question on a unit exam. So make sure you go back and look at those. Schedule time for this class. So if you were taking this fully in-person lecture in lab, you would be spending 3 hours a week in lecture and 2 hours a week in lab. And then we say you should be spending another 2 to 4 hours per credit hour studying. So this class is at least 6 hours, if not more, per week. So you can't just cram it in 20 minutes here or there. You need to say, okay, this is the time I'm going to take this class. I'm going to sit down and do the Nearpods, etc. Be motivated and organized. That will also help make everything easier. If you have technology issues, here's a bunch of resources. I also have a list. I am a biologist by trade. I am not a computer person. So this is the list of things I'm going to tell you to do. If something's not working, a lot of times you'll get an error that says like administrative access denied. Clear your cache, clear your cookies, clear your browser history, try a different browser. Edge or Chrome work the best. Use the Canvas website, not the app. Restart your computer. Make sure you are logged off of all other email accounts. So if you've got your Gmail or your Hotmail open somewhere else on your computer, close all those out before you try to do your assignments. Make sure you're using your right ICC email. If you use HonorLock for other courses, you need to do a different browser for this course because Proctorio and HonorLock will fight with one another. If you're struggling, you have lots of resources. Tutoring is free. There's the link. Accommodations, the Access Services is going to, if you have accommodations, provide you with whatever you need, and then email your accommodations to me. The Testing Center is available if you need to take a test or quiz in the Testing Center at both campuses. And if you're struggling with more than just this class, with life in general, please visit our ICC counseling, which also is free. Final note, stay organized, stay motivated, and reach out if you need me. So the last few pages, these are the pages that I said I recommend that you print, are going to include the schedule. So it will have the due dates, it will have the assignment, it even has a little place for you to put your points, and it goes through basically what's due when. So for this course, for the most part, we do the chapters in order, chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. So we've got a lesson again in a module, the same thing. So the due dates, how many points, etc. We've already kind of covered this. Any breaks that we have during the semester, like a fall break or a spring break, depending on the semester, withdraw dates. And at the very end, I have total points, and I will have here those dates for the comprehensive final. So in other words, those will be filled in on your actual syllabus. So make sure you look at the one for your semester. Okay, so before I leave, real quick, I know that's kind of long, but it's in detail so that you know how the course is running. So you found all the information right here, the welcome start here. This is where your current syllabus will be found. Fall, spring, if I'm teaching in the summer, that's what will be found. So that's where all that information just came from, the welcome module. Also, you can click on syllabus up here. It's not the detailed, it's kind of an overview. It'll give an idea of when all the assignments are and a little brief course description. So the assignments are listed here, which is very, very helpful. But I recommend that you go through those modules to complete the assignments. So the best place to find the detailed or most detailed syllabus is right here where it says Biology 140 syllabus and then the semester. Hope that was helpful and looking forward to a great semester.